Novak Djokovic held up his third trophy at the French Open last year, and of course, Rafa Nadal, the greatest player in French Open history. What are the expectations for these two in 2024? What's up, everybody? It's Jon-Erik Pohlai here to discuss more coverage of this year's French Open. And in today's video, we're looking at Novak Djokovic and Rafa Nadal. Nadal, of course, probably the greatest player to ever step foot on the courts at Roland Garros, winning this tournament 14 times. He's one of the best ever. And then, of course, there's Novak Djokovic, who last year won his third trophy at the French Open, and he is probably the greatest of all time, if not absolutely one of them. Of course, we all know the big arguments between the big three of Roger Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic. We're not here to discuss that. What we're here to discuss today is what are the expectations for Djokovic and Nadal. Now, I'm not going to lie. The reason why I'm making this video, I'm getting prepared for all my French Open coverage here as the week's going on here, and I didn't know whether I should put these two into the favorites category. Now, I'm not going to lie, they are going to be featured in the favorites category just because of how good they always have been. I mean, you'd be stupid to not put them in a favorites category because a switch comes on. These guys can absolutely make a run in the tournament. Anything is absolutely possible, that's for sure. But let's be honest, these two have not exceeded any sort of expectations here in 2024, especially on the side of Novak Djokovic. But let's start today by talking about Rafa Nadal here. Nadal's been banged up all year. That's a God-given fact. We all know that. And he's been trying to make it a point this year on this clay season to make a comeback. He's been trying to play in these tournaments. And there has yet to be a moment where, like, oh boy, here comes Rafa, look out. Now, listen, Rafa said he's had some good practices, but it just hasn't translated onto the courts yet. It has to do so, and it has to do so now. That's a guarantee. Now, we know Rafa's not going to have the best seeding coming into this. He's actually going to be unseeded. Okay, that's all fine and dandy. He could still absolutely make a run at this when he's on top of his game. But again, he's going to have to do so, and he's going to have to do so now. Now, let's talk here about Novak Djokovic. He hasn't been banged up here in 2024 like Rafa has. He's just been underperforming, let's be honest. Now, here's the one thing with Novak Djokovic. There was some moments where you could at least tip your hat to him. Now, by his standards, these aren't good performances, but by anybody else, you could probably tip your hat towards them. Semi-finalist in the Australian Open. We know he's won that championship so many times, with 10 times at the top of my head here. So for him to make the semifinals, not win that one, underwhelming for him, even though he did lose to Jannik Sinner in that Australian Open. Then he also made the semifinals in Monte Carlo just a few weeks ago. But for me, the one thing that I was disappointed with Novak Djokovic, that Italian Open that we just saw, that was a wide-open tournament, and he was in a great position as the top seed. Jannik Sinner wasn't in the tournament. He's been banged up. Carlos Alcaraz has been banged up. He wasn't in the tournament. And we know the other inconsistencies from a lot of the players on tour, like Stefanos Tsitsipas and Alexander Zverev and Casper Ruud, and you could talk about a few other guys in that category, like Andrei Rublev. This was all set up for Novak Djokovic to step up, make a run, and kind of make his presence known here in 2024. Fails to do so. So very disappointing to see there on the side of Novak Djokovic. Now, like I said, this French Open is absolutely wide open on the men's side of things. When I'm looking at it, and I'm going to have the favorites in a separate video, there's going to be 7 guys featured probably in this video. This is an absolutely wide open tournament, and that's not even counting the list of contenders that I already made a video on. So listen, this is going to be a fun tournament to watch. I expect these guys to make things interesting at moments, but let's be fair, I really don't know what the expectations are for these two here in this tournament. I'm asking you guys out there to maybe help me, and you tell me what you guys think, because right now I think it's a question mark as what can we expect out of these two here in this year's French Open.